Hey freaks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is JJ, and I am both an author and a metalhead, so here on my channel I like to talk about where storytelling and music meet. Today we are diving back into the Ayreon universe. I'll be covering Ayreon's 2008 album titled 010110001. Of course, that is the binary code for the letter Y, which I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I'm really excited to cover this album. It has, of course, an all-star cast, some of which are Floor Jensen, Hansi from Blind Guardian, and Simone of Epica, just to name a few. So there is a lot to talk about with this album. Before we get started, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already. Also, feel free to join my metalhead community. Link is down in the description. From there, you can suggest other concept albums you want me to cover. This video actually comes as a request from someone from my metalhead community. They had actually requested the Theory of Everything, which I will get to next, but I can't go out of order. So I'll be covering this one first, and then I'll do a Theory of Everything after that. We have a bit of a longer album here. So yeah, settle in. This might be a little bit longer of a video. And yeah, let's dive back into the Ayreon universe. And if you're wondering why I'm moving around so much, it's because I'm holding my baby, so she's kind of napping on and off, so sorry about all the moving around and bouncing and stuff. So first of all, this story begins about 6 billion BC. So the Ayreon timeline is a bit complicated. It kind of goes all over the place. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to do like an Ayreon timeline video after I've covered all of their concept albums. That kind of gives you an idea of when and where things fall, because we go all over the spectrum of time, starting like since the dawn of like time itself and going all the way to the future. So this album kind of starts off 6 billion BC, and then we get a little bit into the future just in this one album. So anyway, we start off track 1, Age of Shadows / We Are Forever. So here we meet our characters. They are a race of forever beings. They're like aquatic beings who don't age, and they live on this watery planet called Planet Y, hence the letter Y binary code for the name of this album. Anyway, Planet Y was once entirely ocean, like no land or anything, just all ocean. But when the forever beings came and colonized the planet, they built these machines and skyscrapers that kind of brought them out of the depths of the ocean and into like a very modern, civilized, kind of futuristic type of world. And so here we meet a handful of these forever beings, and they are actually imprisoned by the very machines that they built. And so, their downfall, which they call the Age of Shadows, they have reached a certain level of technology where the machines have totally taken over. So they are now like slaves to the machines. So in this track, it's kind of a conversation between a few of these forever beings, and we come to learn that they themselves are to blame, for being careless and complacent with their, thirst for advancement. And another thing to mention, not only have they become dependent on technology to survive, also they have discovered how to suspend aging. So they are essentially immortal in that they have discovered the fountain of youth. And so this, of course, comes at a cost. However, the cost being that they have lost their ability to feel most human emotions. I would say most human emotions because, throughout this album you'll notice that they do show some emotions. It's just they've lost most of them as the cost of living forever. Alright, so we then get to track 2, Comatose. And so the forever beings are kind of divided as to, whether they believe that growing out of the ability to feel human emotions is a good thing or a bad thing. On one hand, they don't feel so bad about being slaves to the machine and the race being overtaken by these machines in this Age of Shadows. So, on one hand, they're like, it's all right, it's not so bad. They don't feel the full scope of human emotion on it. But on the other hand, maybe their lack of emotions is what led to their downfall in the first place. This slow decline of human emotions led them to be complacent enough to place too much trust in the machines and to let them take over. We then get to track 3, Liquid Eternity, and this kind of explains this whole like eternal life type of thing that these forevers are experiencing. So the forever race kind of reflects on how and where they got where they are. There's no doubt that the development of the serum called Liquid Eternity, or called the Source, but that's gonna be explained in a couple albums from now. But this Liquid Eternity, makes them live forever, like I mentioned. The side effect being that this incredible discovery is to blame for stealing their emotions. So again, the race is kind of divided as to whether or not this liquid eternity and the cost of their emotions is worth it. So on one hand, they never have to experience death. They never have to experience that type of suffering or loss. But then on the other hand, another forever argues that without death, there's kind of no meaning to life. That, if you take death away, you also take away some of the desire to live in the first place. We then get to track 4, Connect the Dots. So kind of throughout this album, we kind of get flashes that go into the future. So currently where we are in the story, it is still 6 billion BC. However, we do flash forward every now and again throughout this album to get glimpses of the effect technology has on the human race and the cost of it. So here we just get to see like a normal average guy living in the present times being 2008, of course, because that's when this album was written. But yeah, living in current times on Earth, he has a car, a TV, laptop, video games, and these technology, they seem to be positive, they seem to be harmless, and they seem to make life better. But the undertones of this album stand as kind of a warning to the insidious nature that technology might have, as it starts off very helpful and harmless, but these are merely infant forms of the technology that could potentially take over the world. So then we get to track number 5, Beneath the Waves. So we then, go back to 6 billion BC, back on the planet Y with our forever beings. And, they begin reminiscing about the early days of planet Y. So when they first arrived on planet Y, like I said, it was entirely ocean. And at first they had nothing, they had no technology, and it was very much just a simpler time. They just kind of swam around and lived in caves and everything. And yeah, I just imagine them like mermaids and just swimming around having fun. But yeah, like I said, it was a much simpler time, and they really just long for that simplicity and that freedom that they had before they started building all the machines and technology and advancing their society so much. So yeah, they discuss, past times, but, they know they can't focus on the past. They have to deal with the present. However, these memories are hard to leave behind. And that then leads us into track number 6, Newborn Race. So it is here that the Forevers begin to plan how they can escape their fate. So now they can't physically escape because they're 100% slaves to these machines, and there's no physical escape for them. However, after reminiscing about the past, they seek to kind of devise a way that they can return to a simplicity of that time. Maybe not themselves, but maybe the future generations of themselves. So one Forever looks to the sky and sees a bunch of comets streaking by, and he has an idea. What if they begin their race all over again? Like they did when they first arrived at planet Y. So his plan is to kind of implant a bunch of their DNA onto one of these comets, and then all they have to do is just divert the comet onto a collision course with a habitable planet. And then from there, their race can start all over again, from single-cell organisms all the way up until the evolution of where they are now. So essentially saving the future of the Forevers. So together they kind of just discuss the morality of that, playing God and creating life, creating a whole new, society and everything. But ultimately they decide that they should do it. Now on to track 7, Ride the Comet. So the Forevers enact their plan, implanting their DNA on the comet. Of course, that comes in the form of these organisms that can survive extreme conditions. And so they kind of just stand back and watch their comet streak through the sky, carrying their DNA and all their hopes for future generations. And yeah, it just kind of streaks off through the galaxy, and now all they have to do is find a perfect planet for it to crash into. Track 8, Web of Lies. So here again we kind of flash forward in time to the year 2008 on Earth, and again we get sort of a warning of the advancement of technology in our current world. So, you might be thinking oh, we'd never let technology take over in the same way that this, Forever race has let it take over on planet Y. However, Ayreon was very crafty when, developing this concept and showing that, yes, this is how it starts. These are the seeds, and this is how it develops over time. So here we get to see how technology has affected people's love lives, that being online dating. So of course, in 2008, there was online dating, but it's nothing like there is today with all the apps that you can have and all that kind of thing. So yeah, Ayreon was really on to something with this whole internet dating and the role technology plays in finding love these days. So in this track, we have a woman who is messaging this man who she's never met in real life, but she's messaging him, professing her love for him, and hoping that he messages back. So she just kind of sends message after message, hearing nothing back from him for a long time, and then eventually he does respond to her, returning her affection. However, by the time he's responded, she has moved on to someone else. So yeah, that just kind of goes to show the sort of shallowness of online dating. Not to say that it's bad, but how it can affect society as a whole in how we look at love and relationships and everything like that when you bring it online. So yeah, again, on one hand, online dating is great because this technology helps people find love, it helps people find future spouses and build families, and it's wonderful in that way. But at the same time, you're also kind of shopping for dates, especially with these modern dating apps that we have. And that definitely has an effect on the psychology of society and leads to further dependence on technology. And so it's kind of saying, the way I look at it is, if we are relying on technology for something as human as, love, then what else in life are we going to become dependent on technology for? We now get to track 9, the 5th extinction. So the Forevers have kind of vetted a bunch of planets in the galaxy, and they find one that is perfect for the growth of their organisms. However, the only problem is that it already has life on it, i.e. the dinosaurs, because the planet they have found is, of course, Earth. And so the Forevers, kind of voice a bit of consternation about sending this comet to crash on a planet that already has life on it, being that the comet will cause, all these species to be annihilated. However, they eventually decide that, they don't have time to seek out a different planet, that this one's perfect, and they're going to go through with their plan. So they divert the comet to a collision course with Earth, and then they watch it crash down, and it kind of, explodes and, kills a bunch of the life on the planet. And so now the Forever beings just have to kind of sit and wait and, twiddle their thumbs and really just hope that everything works out the way that they planned. We now get to track 10, Waking Dreams. So the organisms, embedded in the comet begin to grow and multiply. And over thousands and thousands of years, they evolve and evolve until eventually consciousness is born. And, although the Forever race is completely across the galaxy on their own planet, they still have this telepathic tether to the beings on Earth, being that they are part of them. And they're also this really advanced civilization and advanced beings. They have special abilities. Anyway. Once these, beings on Earth become aware, the Forever race decides to begin manipulating their dreams. So they start influencing them to evolve in that, they give them dreams that implant the desire for innovation and growth and advancement in discovery and technology. We then get to track 11, The Truth Is In Here. So at this point, we started off the album in 6 billion BC, and we are now to, current times like 2008 on Earth. So we now see the humans are beginning to notice hints of Forever's manipulation. One man who I kind of imagine him being in a nursing home, just being old and being at a nursing home, getting taken care of. Sorry, there's a fly. And he could be a guy at a hospital, but I just imagine him at a nursing home for some reason. Of course, the voice of this character, Mr. L, is Ayreon himself. But basically, this track has him telling about this dream that he had and how he saw the truth of how the human race was born and how, basically these aliens implanted the DNA for life to form on Earth. So he tells his nurse about what he saw in his dream, and he, really comes to believe it. But of course, his nurse just thinks that he's crazy and off of his meds. Next up, we have track 12, Unnatural Selection. And so the Forever race keeps basically, oh my god, this fly. So the Forever race keeps, pretty constant watchful eyes over the humans over, all these billions of years. And they see them suffer and, go through war and famine and disease. And they're really upset by this. So this advanced race of Forever beings, they know how they can easily fix all the humans' problems. They discuss stepping in to share their knowledge so that the race can basically develop faster, and not go through all this suffering, because they're impatient to see this race grow into who they want them to be. But currently, the race is just killing each other and dying of all kinds of diseases, things that the Forever race hasn't had to deal with in, millennia, since they've cured that a long time ago. So they decide to share their knowledge with the humans so that they can, end much of their suffering. However, this knowledge and advancement in science does not cure humanity of their suffering, of course. The tools and knowledge that are given to them by the Forever race are then used to cause further destruction. And humans then become dependent on the technology that they have built, just as the Forever race has become dependent on the machines to survive. So the Forever race here realizes that their intervening has completely ruined the humans. They have made the mistake of giving them all the tools that brought about the Age of Shadows on their own planet, and now Earth is on the verge of collapse. Track 13, River of Time. So the Forevers have discussed ways to maybe undo the mistake that they've made. And so they decide to meddle one last time, and this time they are meddling with time travel. So they decided to give a human the ability to send visions of the future to the past in hopes that this warning will change the outcome of the future. So they decided to grant the humans one last advancement, and that is time telepathy. And that takes us right into track 14, E equals mc squared. So we have now passed the present time on Earth, and we're now into the future. It is the year 2084, and two scientists on Earth are granted the knowledge of time telepathy through a dream. And they realize that this is the only chance to save mankind from their eventual destruction. So here is where they do a final experiment. And of course, this is where the events of Ayreon's 1995 album, The Final Experiment, takes place. So if you don't know the story behind that one, I covered that in a video. I will link that up here in case you haven't watched it, or in case it's been a while since you watched it, because I think I uploaded that a while ago. But anyway, in short, the scientists performed this experiment, sending a warning message back to the 6th century to a blind minstrel named Ayreon. However, this last-ditch effort does not work, and the future does not change. And so that means that the human race is doomed. We now get to the 15th and final track on this album, and that is the 6th Extinction. So this is where humanity falls. The Great War of 2084 ends in nuclear warfare, where every last person on Earth is killed. No humans survive, except for a handful of humans who fled before the Great War of 2084, and they colonized Mars. However, that colony on Mars has largely been unsuccessful, and we only have one final colonist alive, who is the last human alive in the galaxy, and of course that is our colonist from the album The Dream Sequencer. So I also covered this album, or both of these albums, part 1 and 2. I'll link those up here if you want to watch it. But basically the whole end of this track depicts sort of what happens at the end of these last two albums, where the colonist is reborn into the universal migrator. And so from here, the Forever race kind of begs the migrator to restore their race. And, you know, they explain that they've learned their lesson, and they implore the migrator for one last chance to continue on. So that is where this concept story ends. We're kind of like left hanging, wondering if the migrator will actually grant the Forevers their wish. I really love how this album connects, you know, all the other story threads into one, and we get to, you know, kind of see how things develop from 6 billion BC all the way up to the future. Again, let me know down in the comments if you want me to cover a whole timeline of things and when and where they happen, because it is a bit complicated. And I'll think about doing that in a future video. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this concept. Let me know if you have any theories about the end, if you think that the migrator did grant them the ability to start over, or if he completely ignored them. Anyway, I know Ayreon has a live show coming up this month in the Netherlands. I think all the dates are actually sold out. Not that I could go to the Netherlands, even if I wanted to. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you are going to be attending that live show. I believe they're going to be performing this whole album. So yeah, I'm really excited to see some footage from that live show. So drop in the comments if you're attending one of those shows, or if you have attended already, let me know how it went. I'm sure there'll be plenty of video footage, but of course nothing beats being there in person. I'll be covering the next installment in the Ayreon universe, The Theory of Everything, which has been highly requested plenty of times, so I'll be covering that here pretty soon. So if you want to get notified when I put out that video, feel free to hit subscribe and ring the little bell thingy. Also, if you want to support what I do here, you know, like, share, subscribe. And also feel free to join my Metalhead community. Link is down in the description. From there, you'll get access to bonus content, and you'll get to request videos that you want me to do in the future. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Till next time. Oh my god, I can't believe I did the whole video without drinking anything.